Hey, this is Anney.
And Samantha.
And welcome to Stuff I Never Told You, a production of iHeartRadio.
And welcome to me trying to make you feel sad again, because apparently that's what the role I'm on with my episodes here. Yeah, go ahead and give this content warning for this lovely Monday mini. Also date this. Today is April 28th, 2023. This is a current affairs thing, so things change swiftly, especially when we know when it comes to media and cancel culture. And I'm not saying this is a bad cancel culture thing. I'm just saying that that's kind of along the lines. As well as we are talking about sexual assault, rape, mental health, ableism, and suicidal ideation. So let's get into it. Well, I was really, really excited, Anney, about the new Netflix series Beef, because I am so excited to see more and more Asian representation. That is something that I love. And the fact that Steven Yeun is actually Korean, I'm like, yes, let's go. And he's seen as like a good-looking, sexy dude, which has been such a rare thing, honestly, up until recently. Thank you, K-pop kids, to truly understand like the appreciation and the talent of different people and diversity in itself. Like I said, for so long when I was a kid, I did not have so many influences. So seeing this is lovely. And with all the amazing reviews, I think it's A24, which have done stellar shows and movies. I was really rooting for this. I was really excited to get into it. My partner and I were planning on watching this. Yay. Unfortunately, this has been marred by the ugliness and denial of a problematic actor/artist. I guess, is it now Happy Asian American Heritage Month? Let's go into this darkly.
It's May 1st. Yeah, when it comes out, it's May 1st, I think.
And this is how I'm going to start it.
Okay.
Right. So David Cho, if you have not heard, is in the show playing a jerk artist, apparently, who often goes to jail, all the good stuff. He has been a topic of conversation, and he's been a topic of conversation probably for the last 7 to 8 years. Every time he has a project, it comes back up, and honestly, I don't hate that. So if you don't know, David Cho's old podcast episode has resurfaced where he talks about raping a Black woman and described how the prospect of going to jail turns him on for this. And the episode first put him in hot water when it was released around 2014. And then it came back again in 2017. But he also said some other things that make me think he didn't learn his lesson. But here's his statement after the initial backlash. He said, "I never thought I'd wake up one late afternoon and hear myself called a rapist after joking about loving to rape somebody. That's a surprise to him. Surprise. It sucks, especially because I'm not one. I'm not a rapist. I hate rapists. I think rapists should be raped and murdered," he said at the time. Yes. "I am an artist, a storyteller, and I view my show, DVDASA, that's the initials for his show, as a complete extension of my art. If I am guilty of anything, it's bad storytelling in the style of douche. Just like many of my paintings are often misinterpreted, the same goes with my show. The main objective of all my podcasts is to challenge and provoke my friends and the co-stars on the show. We with each other, entertain ourselves, and laugh at each other. It's dark, tasteless, completely irreverent show where we with everyone listening, but mostly ourselves. We create stories and tell tales. It's not a news show. It's not a representation of my reality. It's not the place to come for reliable information about me or my life. It's my version of reality. It's art that sometimes offends people. I'm sorry if anyone believed that the stories were facts. They were not. I'm in a world full of horrible people. Thank God for us."
Wow.
Can we talk about how that response is? I'm sorry you took it this way when I said I like raping people.
Yeah.
Especially Black women.
Right.
I'm-
Like that's
I'm
a
not-
you problem, not a me problem.
Right. Not only did I say this on mic as myself, my co-host, who apparently is in the porn industry, kept saying, "Oh, so you are a rapist? What you're saying to us is that you rape people. You're a rapist." She actually said that out loud to him, and he was like, "Yeah, I mean, no, well, I'm not. I'm just saying." And that was the whole punchline. And when the recording came out again in 2017, he said this: "I have zero history of sexual assault. I am deeply sorry for any hurt I've brought to anyone through my past words." So at the very least, he does a little better, but you could probably tell someone did that for him because they were like, "Whatever you did last time was real bad, real bad. Please don't do this."
Right.
Again, so many problems. The excuses, the backhanded gaslighting, and just for information, because we'll come back to why this isn't the only time on the podcast he made offensive statements. In fact, star of the show, Beef, Stephen Yeun, was on the podcast with him. I want to say it was like 2016. It was soon after the Walking Dead days when Cho made another reference to wanting to watch his girlfriend being raped. He literally took a scene from the show where they were assuming like Glenn, the character Glenn, and his girlfriend had been separated, and he thought that she was being raped. And he said, "Dude, that's my fantasy." And Yun and the other co-hosts are laughing and joking with Cho, continue to joke for the next few minutes about this horrible fantasy, and no one really corrected him. Personally, not a huge fan of people encouraging rape jokes, but
Yeah.
And when asked about this, the stars and director's response about Cho, they issued this statement: "The story David Cho fabricated 9 years ago is undeniably hurtful and extremely disturbing. We do not condone this story in any way, and we understand why this has been so upsetting and triggering," they said. "We're aware David has apologized in the past for making up this horrific story, and we've seen him put in the work to get the mental health support he needed over the last decade to better himself and learn from his mistakes." So, there's so many wrong things in this. I cannot say I'm not disappointed, because I am severely disappointed. And this doesn't mean we're saying people can't learn from things. I think people can fundamentally change. I definitely have changed. But using addiction and mental health as an excuse is never a way to go. This is, to me, such an ableist cop-out that we know plenty of people who go through these things that do not think rape jokes are funny. I have worked with people in this industry. Never have I ever heard them think this was funny.
Right.
People who struggle with things aren't likely going to make these comments on a recording. I would hope. Well, I mean, people who intentionally do it and never apologize for it. That's what I've heard. And his new response of threatening to sue people for the words, that doesn't look good. Oh, and by the way, that episode where I was talking about with Yun and that is gone. Like it just says not available because I tried it because I was like, it hasn't been mentioned as much, obviously, as the other thing. And I was like, but this was years after he'd already apologized the first time and he did it again. I don't understand why we think that he's learned. I know he was recently on the Joe Rogan show, so I feel like that says a lot about him as well. I'm having a problem with the fact, as an Asian person, as a Korean Asian American, who have seen so much disgusting things happening, especially when it comes to anti-Blackness within the Asian community. There's so much pain and so much misogynoir in this conversation that is being completely ignored and bypassed and excused by people who should know better, who say they know better. And that's where it's a problem. When I see things like David Cho, when I see people like Bobby Lee, who are still successful and sitting here thinking that talking about raping women, especially raping women or children, as Bobby Lee did, there's so much disturbing stuff that I don't understand why celebrities think that they are okay, that they should be okay with it and excuse it and not have any accountability. Don't get me wrong. David Cho did lose a lot for a minute. This is where we talk about cancel culture really doesn't exist if you're rich and powerful. For a minute, he did. Apparently, there was talk. He said that he went through a suicidal state. He did go to rehab. Still trying to figure out that part, which I feel like is a cop out. I don't know. Maybe for celebrities. I know people need this, but we have seen many people who have done really, really harmful things and be like, "Oh, my bad. I'm not responsible. I was not in my right state of mind," instead of taking responsibility for it, as well as coming back with the same personality in which, instead of owning it, I think he literally said into another interview, "I've said what I've said. The haters are going to hate."
Mm-hmm.
I'm so tired of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say there's been a big conversation of his own past. He had gone through some severe abuse as a kid. I'm not saying that does not affect somebody. I'm not saying that that's not a factor in some things, but I've been abused pretty severely. You have gone through some things pretty severely. I've worked with children going through these things. Rape jokes has never been a thing for these people. Typically, the people who make the rape jokes are the ones who act out on it or want to act out on it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm very disappointed to see this outcome. I'm very disappointed to see that people I root for to be successful would take that route.
Mm-hmm. It is disappointing. I read a lot of articles about this because they were saying like it kind of, Hollywood has such a short memory span. Like it's because it has happened like a couple of times now. And that conversation, like you said, happens again and again every time. And it also kind of reminds me of what we've talked about before with sort of the, especially male genius who we're apparently as a society like, well, sure, he hurt people, but he's a genius.
Right.
So we excuse it.
He's an artist.
Right. Exactly. But no, it's not funny at all. It's terrible and upsetting.
Mm-hmm. I hope you can't find it. I really do, because it is, and it's the very reason why we wouldn't read his exact words, because it is posted many different places. It's disturbing. I don't like, none of this makes, as a sarcastic, self-deprecating person who that is my sense of humor, it doesn't make sense. Where's the joke other than making everybody uncomfortable?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I would like to hope, something will come of this, but already several times nothing has. But I will say a lot of the articles I read were like, you know what? We're really going to we have to stop just excusing this. Like 3 years pass and then we're like, okay.
I will say Beef has some of the highest ratings.
It did. I actually, and this could be, I want to caveat this because this could be just a me reading headlines thing. I saw a lot of headlines that were like, because I didn't know about this, to be honest. I saw a lot of headlines that made it sound like, it said stuff like, this is Hollywood nepotism at its worst. And I was like, oh, so he's related to somebody. So I'm not even sure if they're like, a lot of the write-ups on it are doing it justice and how we should be.
Now I'm thinking about it. I don't know if I didn't know that. Maybe it is.
Well, I think what they mean, I don't think it means, it could, somebody could write it and let me know. But I think now that I know the story, I think what it means is essentially he had an in, he has Hollywood friends.
Right.
And they were like, oh, we can't let him be canceled.
He was featured by Anthony Bourdain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It is disappointing and it is upsetting. But here we are again.
Here we are again. I don't know. There again, I mean, I guess there's also the bigger question is, what would we like to see? When I say all these things, what is the change that I would have liked to see in him? That's a great question. Maybe he really has. And those awful, awful apologies that he did has changed. But because his response is just to take everything down.
Yeah.
I don't know. That doesn't seem like a self-reflection.
No. It doesn't. It sounds like somebody trying to protect themselves.
Exactly.
Hide things.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, happy Monday, I suppose. May 1st.
Happy May.
Happy May. We'll be here.
It's gonna be May. How about that? Was that better?
There you go.
That's
better. Yeah, that's better than what I tried to do. If you would like to contact us, listeners, if you have any thoughts about this or anything else, you can let us know. Our email is stuffmediamomstuff@iheartmedia.com. You can find us on Twitter @momstuffpodcast or on Instagram and TikTok @stuffmomnevertoldyou. We're also on YouTube. We also have a book. You can pre-order it at stuffyoushouldreadbooks.com. Thanks, as always, to our super producer, Christina, our executive producer, Maya, and our contributor, Joey.
Sorry for all the trauma. Love y'all.
Yes. Love y'all, and sorry. And thanks to you for listening. Stuff I Never Told You is a production by iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, you can check out the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your favorite shows.